Hey guys, welcome to another video. And the title of this video is Let God Find You. And what really inspired me to come up with this title and to talk about this topic is I was reading Genesis chapter, I believe it was Genesis chapter 3 the other day, and it talks about how Adam and Eve ended up eating from the forbidden tree, the tree of knowledge, of I believe it was knowledge and evil, I believe. But I'm sorry, I didn't even fact check that. But I was reading that the other day, and when it talked about that, it talked about how all of a sudden after they did that, they realized they were naked and they hid from the Lord. And what that reminded me of, it reminded me of how in today's society, in today's world, it becomes very easy to look at God as if he's our father, where where, and I mean our father in the human sense, where whenever we screw up or whenever we get in trouble at school, we would be afraid to go home. We would be afraid or ashamed to show ourselves in front of our dad, and whether that's your dad or your mom. But we tend to look at God the same way, where we think that, oh, because we screwed up, because we made this mistake, all of a sudden we just shouldn't show our face. All of a sudden we don't deserve to see God. We don't deserve to talk to him. And that's not what God wants. Ultimately, God wants us to run to him whenever we make mistakes, whenever something happens in our life that's challenging, instead of just hiding ourselves from him. Because when we hide ourselves from him, we also kind of keep ourselves from being blessed, and we keep ourselves from being forgiven or even learning and just properly, healing and moving on. Because doing that, it's almost like getting a cut, like a paper cut or whatever, on your hand, and just being like, oh, well, this paper cut's there. I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. And I'm not going to take extra care of it. I'm just going to go on about my normal life, just doing things on the daily, however I was doing them before. But then before you know it, you get to a point, maybe your hand still hurts, or maybe it gets infected. And it's just because we didn't pay it any attention, we pretended that cut wasn't there. Almost like how whenever we sin in life, it can be easy to pretend that God isn't there. And when we pretend that's the case, we end up prolonging our suffering. We can prolong the guilt that we feel in our hearts because we didn't go to God with our problems as soon as we encountered them. And so we adopted this mindset of, oh no, this thing that I did, it's almost like, no one else has ever struggled with this, and I don't feel like I'm in the right position to talk to God. But it's just having that mindset is so self-defeating, and it's very self-sabotaging. And so the importance of letting God find you is so important, because no matter what it is you've done, no matter what it is that you're going through, God wants you to run to him. God wants you to be open to him, or open with him, and to talk about the struggles that you're having. And so when we have this relationship with God, this fixed relationship of, okay, I made this mistake. I know that what I did here was wrong, but I know that there's hope. I know that if I go to God and I'm honest and I talk to him about, why I struggled, where my mindset was at, unlike maybe our parents on earth where, they might scold us, or we might be grounded, or we might, just receive, some kind of punishment. Maybe, you can't hang out with friends for a week, whatever. Instead of that, God doesn't do that. God brings us in and he gives us a hug and basically tells us it's okay. Or he, essentially tells us next time you're going to do X, Y, and Z, or do better by doing this. But it's never God's intention to make you feel so guilty about your sin that you can't go to him. And I remember one day in church, the pastor was talking about how shame comes from the devil. And that was something that really opened my eyes because I had never thought about it like that before. I had never thought about that because typically shame is just, I would think of it as just a human emotion. But when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because what were Adam and Eve in the garden? They were ashamed. And so they hid themselves from God. And so what do we do when we make mistakes and we feel shame or, we feel ashamed? Chances are as time goes on, we continue to make those mistakes because typically feeling shame and feeling hopelessness go hand in hand. And so when you feel like, okay, I've done something that's so bad, there's no coming back from it. At that point, you're like, I may as well just keep doing this bad thing. I may as well just fall right back into that pattern and keep going along that path. And this was me even when it came to pornography, when it came to trying to stop watching porn. I remember I was really good for like a year and then I relapsed. And it was that one time that boom, all of a sudden I was like, this is so difficult. I lasted a year. Maybe it's not gonna get better. Maybe, I'd done this for so long in my life that maybe I'm bound to just fall down that path again and just stay there. And so I started to feel so much shame because I felt like that year that I lasted, without watching porn, all of a sudden I felt like it was all gone, just down the drain. And it felt like I was starting from scratch. And that feeling just felt so defeating of, man, I was so good for a whole year. What happened? And so I started to just get in my head and I felt so ashamed that before I knew it, one time turned to 3 more times and 3 more times turned to 4 or 5 more times. And before I knew it, I felt like I was right back where I was a year and a half ago. And so I had to get to that point though mentally being like, okay, even though I slipped up, I need to go to God. I need to ask for forgiveness. I need to continue to trust in him. And that even though, yes, I fell, it's up to me to get up. God can help me get up. But if I tell God, no, I'm good, I'm good just staying on the floor and doing what I'm doing, then of course I'm probably going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to feel ashamed in the process. And then I'm just going to start to feel hopeless. But it was really in just being honest with God. After the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, I was honest with God. I was like, God, I'm really struggling with this. I don't understand what it is that, I need to do. But as I've been praying, I've started to feel stronger and stronger in that fight against porn. And so it helped me understand the importance of not being ashamed, that just the importance of understanding that even though I fell, I'm not going to allow this shame to overwhelm me. Because I remember I saw in another video, this guy was talking about how, I forgot the name of this channel, but he was talking about how the devil doesn't win when you lose, he wins when you give up. And shame and that feeling of defeat and just overall complacency, that's essentially how the devil wins. Because once you feel like you've lost a fight and there's no point in trying anymore, that's exactly what he wants. What the devil wanted was for me to go, okay, there's no point in me trying to fight this anymore. It's just human nature. It is what it is. It's just the way we are. That's exactly what he wanted. But for me, I really had to dig deep and go, okay, yes, I'm struggling with this thing, but I know that I can be better. I know that I can do better. And so it was really in just trusting God that I've grown stronger, that I've told myself that even if I fall, even if I trip and I stumble, I know that the battle isn't over. And I know that just because that happened, God is still with me and that God understands that I'm doing my best and that I'm doing all of those things. And so all of those things just go to say that, when you stumble, when you fall, when you make mistakes, don't hide yourself from God, because that's exactly what the devil wants. The devil wants to remind you of how, oh no, like you made that one mistake, like God would be really mad with you, or God would be so upset with you. It's not worth even going to him with this. And that's why making these videos, it means the world to me, because making Christian videos, it's not a matter of saying, oh, I have this figured out and nobody else does. It's a matter of saying, I'm trying to figure this thing out along with everybody else. But in the process, I'm trying to get closer with God, and I'm trying to bring other people closer to God with me. And so that way, if we can all just kind of bond over these stories, over these things that we're fighting together, community is such an important, plays such an important role in just in life and in terms of just our walk with God. As children of God, when we walk together, we're stronger than if we walk alone. And so I hope you guys found value from this video. If you guys stayed along for the entire video, I appreciate you guys. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you know any struggles that you guys are having, that you guys need prayer over, and I'll definitely pray for you guys. As well as I would appreciate any prayers as well, because every day as humans, we're all fighting. We're all fighting that war. We're fighting against our flesh. We're fighting against those intuitive thoughts that sometimes just come to us. But you know, you guys, I'm praying for all of you, and I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. And I hope you guys stay blessed and have a great day.